Hey everybody, happy Saturday. Hope you are doing well. Buckeye Piper, obviously. Coming to you from Casa de Buckeye. Nice win for the Buckeyes today, by the way. Nice win. Beat those Badgers 38-7. Very good Wisconsin team, so very happy with that. I think Ohio State, I'm partial, but I think they're the best team in the country right now. So anyhow, enjoying a Diet Dr. Pepper, a Moonshine Devil Ants. Picked this little bad boy up from Corvette Jim. He did a nice job. And in it, Maltese Falcon. Pretty good stuff. Love the smokiness. This one's a really smoky deal. Sitting out here on the deck. I don't know if you can see, hanging out with Hank. He's kind of a stiff. He's not much for conversation, but he's here. His brothers are somewhere. I don't know where they're at right now, but they're around. Dogs are out here enjoying the yard. So thought I'd get on and have a pipe, talk about some pipe stuff. It's been a while. So by the tagline, maybe that was the hook that got you to watch the video, is Lane Ltd pipe tobacco going away? I think everybody's heard here in the last, I think it was announced this last week and a half now, maybe 2 weeks even, that STG, Scandinavian Tobacco Group, is going to close their Tucker, Georgia plant. Their Tucker, Georgia plant makes Lane Ltd, produces it, and they also do a lot of roll your own tobacco from what I understand there. And I think they may also do a little bit of cigars, what I would call the gas station cigars, but I'm not positive on that. So what's the future have in store for Lane? You know, that's just, it's kind of a blend company that's been around, multiple blends, multiple well-loved blends. You know, a lot of people start with 1Q, probably one of their most popular blends. HGL, very popular blend. They've got a lot of good products, but they're closing Tucker, Georgia. So there's a lot of speculation. So I think I've mentioned it on my channel before, but I'm a pretty religious podcast listener of Country Squire Radio. It's one of the few podcasts I listen to. And they had a very, very good, informative podcast this week. And they had on Leonard Wurtzel, who's Vice President of Marketing and Product Development for Scandinavian Tobacco Group. They talked a little bit about this change. What's it mean for the community, the pipe smoking community, the tobacco community, things of that nature. And I learned some things. So yes, Lane is produced or made, manufactured in Tucker, Georgia. It's also produced at one of their factories in Denmark, from what I understand. I think it's in Assens, Denmark. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what he said. So essentially, you know, in crunching the numbers, which any business is going to do, they found that they have 2 plants making product and volume's not increasing. Sales are fine, revenue's fine, you know, because prices go up, so that pays for it, but volume's really not increasing. And I think every tobacco user probably understands this, whether you're a cigar, pipe, snuff, cigarette. Tobacco use in general is declining. It's declining at a pretty big clip. In my line of work, we distribute cigarettes, and we feel it. There is a sharp decline in the sale of cigarettes to our customers right now. And I don't know if that translates nationwide. I'm sure it probably does. if you map it out. But people aren't smoking cigarettes. They're not, not a lot of people, you don't see people smoking pipe. I mean, you used to walk down the street, a lot of guys had a pipe in their mouth. You just don't see that. Vape may be responsible for some of it. Healthier choices probably responsible for some of it. Combination of all the above. Everything's cyclical though, so it will come back. I'm a strong believer of that. Everything is cyclical. So if vaping gets allowed, then everybody will go back rushing to cigarettes or something else. People are going to do what they do. But I digress. I want to get back to the topic. So, shutting down Tucker, Georgia freaked a lot of people out. A lot of people thought that's the end of Lane. They're going to stop producing it, and they're done. That's not the plan. They're going to move it to Denmark. So for all you Lane fans, you'll still be able to get your Lane tobacco. Now, what everybody will say is, oh, great. Moving the factory, that's going to change everything. It's going to change the taste. It's going to change, it's going to be different. 1Q is not going to be the same. I'm pissed. What have you. That's not the case. I learned something on this podcast. And essentially, to maintain sale on the U.S. market, you have to meet the FDA requirements, right? We all know that. You've heard the FDA deeming regulations and all that jazz. So that's why you don't see new products coming in. They can't get them introduced. It's too much too expensive, if not impossible, to get through the FDA. But the products that were grandfathered in can still be sold. Lane's got a lot of products grandfathered in. Can be sold under one condition. Nothing changes in the blend, to include the tobacco process, the topping, the casing, the packaging material. Nothing can change. If you change any aspect of the pipe tobacco, the packaging, anything, you've now introduced a new product into the market. And now the FDA can step in and take it out, essentially. So I mention that for two reasons. Number one, like I said, for all you folks that think, oh crap, my Lane's going to change. It's really not. It's just going to come from Denmark now. The other thought would be, oh man, prices are going to jump through the roof. They actually won't. If you think about it from, the business side of the house, you have two factories that are probably, and I'm speculating, but let's say you have two factories that are producing at 50 to 75% of capacity. Well, they couldn't be doing 75% of capacity because you couldn't combine two that were, unless you were going to shrink your product and take some offerings off the table. You couldn't do that. But, if you have two identical manufacturing facilities that are producing at 50% capacity, think of the time, the money, the labor, all that's expensive. I'm not an expert on Denmark or the, wages or anything, but I would bet they're probably paying people less there. I would bet utilities are probably less there. Sure, you have to ship it and import it, but guess what? There's already containers coming over, so they can leverage that and really do it at a cheaper cost. So when you open the books from a business perspective, that's what they're doing. That's what Scandinavian Tobacco Group is doing. They're not cutting offerings or products according to them. Now, that could change. Again, I don't work for them. I don't have inside knowledge. That could change. But from what their vice president of marketing says, they're not going to change. They're not planning on having any cuts. So, what else does that mean? I mean, from a business perspective in the United States, that's jobs lost, which is never good. So, you hate to see that. The one thing that impressed me about Scandinavian Tobacco Group, though, was that they're not shutting this plant down for a year. they're essentially going to operate it until this time next year, basically, and allow all those workers there a year to find something, and they'll help place them, which I think is phenomenal from a business perspective. You just don't see that. They could have easily just done what so many companies do and just threw a sign on the door and locked it, and people would have showed up to work and it have said, go home, you don't work here anymore. That's not what they did. So kudos to them for that. That's admirable, and that's taking care of people and doing the right thing, even though you hate to see the jobs lost. They talked about a man who'd been there 35 years. So you think about that and lifestyle change. Oh my goodness. What a culture shock. You've been doing something for 35 years. The other thing I picked up out of the interview was that obviously what we refer to as the Dunhill blends, they were a blend. I forget, don't quote me on this. I'm not sure if they were introduced as Dunhill products or if they were renamed Dunhill, the blends. I think they were renamed, but I may be wrong on that. I didn't look that up. But Peterson's going to put their name on it. So you'll be able to get your early morning pipe. You'll be able to get your aperitif, whatever it's called, your Durbar, all that jazz, that was known as Dunhill, that we knew as Dunhill. You'll be able to pick that up under the Peterson name. And a lot of people, again, are thinking, well, is it going to change? It's not going to be the same. I want my Dunhill. I'm going to pay a lot more money. Go back to the FDA and the deeming and the regulations. Has to be the same product. Has to be, packaging materials must be identical. The tobacco, the casing, the topping. Certainly you're not going to be 100% spot on. Tobacco's a plant material, and it's not, conditions could vary. You could have soil could be better one year than the next. Little variances, nuances could introduced and maybe change the taste a little, but it's not going to be a widespread change just because Peterson's putting their name on it. So for all the people that are Dunhill fans, look out, because here it comes under Peterson's name now. And from what I understand, should hit the U.S. market. The vice president from Scandinavian Tobacco Group said it was already in their warehouse and should hit the U.S. market within the next 10 days. And that was 3 days ago. And the interview was probably done 2 or 3 days before that. So we might be a week into those 10 days. So online retailers will probably get it first, and brick and mortars will get it. But he said expect some of your larger retailers to have it within the next 10 days or so. So be on the lookout for that if you're a fan of those blends. So I thought that was an interesting topic, and it got me, gave me the ability to come out and talk to y'all and check in and say hey and have a pipe and relax, and talk about what's going on in the pipe community. So that's impactful. So check out the Country Squire. Check out their podcast. They really do a nice job. I mean, some days they just do some different stuff, like they'll do a series on pirates and things like that. But, when they hit some of the business aspect like this, it really interests me. This was probably one of my favorite podcasts that they had done. It really was well done, and I thought they did a nice job with it and very informative. Especially the pieces about, because I was one of those guys that thought, oh man, you're going to remake a tobacco. Is it going to be the same? But has to be the same, or it's a new product, and the FDA is not going to go for that. So interesting. So give it a listen, check it out. Other than that, house is going well. Did a little yard work today, and I think it's time to have some pipes and maybe a drink or two and relax. But wanted to check in and say hey. Hope y'all doing well. Hope everything's running smooth. I'm way behind on watching videos. Just life's been really busy. A lot of work, a lot of move. We're still settling in. You know how that goes. You want to tinker with stuff, fix stuff, move stuff, plant stuff, all that good stuff. So it just takes up time. And this week's vacation, so I'm pretty excited about that. Today's really the start of it. I worked yesterday, but I have all next week off. My son's coming down tonight, probably be in late tonight, early tomorrow. and we'll have the whole week. My birthday's Halloween, so looking forward to that. But anyhow, I'm going to jump off here. Wishing you all the blessings in the world. Pay it forward and take care of each other out there. Well, we'll catch you next time. Have a great day, everybody.